let's bring in Pete Thompson. PT Tuesday with Thompson. He's going to release his top 8 seeds for the classic rock bracket of this tournament. Peter?
Michael, how are you? Good to talk to you guys, all of you. I like your setup. Everybody's in a different place, and we're all contributing to the wonderful world of radio. Everything's good.
Yeah, man. So we just released my top 8 seeds for the grunge alternative bracket, and half of them, none of these guys knew at all.
Wow. Yeah, see, now and I was listening to you in the open there, and of course I immediately went to, because I'm trying to think of, of course I know Billy Corrigan when you bring up Smashing Pumpkins, but I'm trying to think of music that wasn't in my bracket, but would be in a different bracket. And of course I go to 311 because they're Omaha's own. And
311.
I hung out with those guys, come original, baby, come original.
Yeah. 311 would be probably more in my bracket than your bracket.
Very much so. But, I just wanted to say that I'm not immune or not, it's not like I don't listen to some of the music in the other brackets, including Josh.
Yeah, no. See, Hunter Brody thought that our brackets were too similar, and I said, no way. They're not. They would not be played on like the same stations back then.
I would agree with that. Yes. And then my bracket, of course, which is classic rock, it straight out of the definition, if you look it up, it says it's a radio format that developed from album-oriented rock in the early 80s, right? It's blues rock, and you heard the return music there that Josh played. That would be blues rock, one of the bands on my top 8. Hard rock, I get classic rock, and I think it fits.
Yeah, so Pete Thompson, 1 through 8. You've got your top 8 seeds. You're going to release them right now. Who do you got?
And am I going 8-1 or 1-8? I just need to ask that.
I went 8-1. Josh went 1 through 8. So you pick whose brain you'd like to be similar to.
Oh, I'm going to go 8-1. I mean, that's an old radio trick, And so first and foremost, I don't know if you saw that music video that came out today, or that thing that came out where all the artists were contributing to. They're going to start a New Jersey pandemic fund. Well, this guy was in his mansion in Freehold. His name is Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. That is, and it's the whole group, not just Bruce. Bruce and the E Street Band, active from 1964 to now. They are my 8th seed.
All right. Well, Bruce is interesting because do you think that he is in the top 8 out of this region?
Yeah, 100%. And not just him as a solo artist, too. I mean, there were some times where the E Street Band wasn't with him and he was off on his own. But in the last couple of years, he's brought the E Street Band back. And, Clarence Clemens is no longer with us. Jake Clemens plays the sax now, So they're my 8 seed. My 7 seed, Mike Gill, is from across the pond. That would be the Rolling Stones. And in fact, I believe they were getting ready to still do a tour, and then Mick Jagger had some health issues, or they were going to at least play some shows, which is remarkable, for God's sakes, that they're still able to perform. So they're my 7th seed.
They were old when I was in high school listening to them.
That is correct. My 6th seed is a group we've talked about. We talked about last week when we were together, The Who, or as I affectionately refer to them sometimes now, The Two, right? Because, we've got Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey of the original members. But, yeah, they're basically 1964 to present with a bunch of, reincarnations of what they are now. But The Who are
definitely. Now, you and I have seen The Who together, once or twice?
I thought we saw them twice, but I know that I was big on they opened up with The Seeker, and what else did we like? Oh, Squeezebox is one of my favorites all the time from The Who.
Yeah.
Very much. Number 5, I just saw at Citizens Bank Park. What was that, 2 years ago now? It's been 2 summers ago. That would be the Eagles, not the team that plays at Lincoln Financial Field, but the rock group, the Eagles. And I've seen them a bunch of times. I saw them at the Borgata. That was an amazing show. And, in fact, I saw them. It was like a Thursday-Saturday thing. I saw them Thursday night, and they blew the doors off the place, and then I saw them again Saturday. And I remember saying to somebody years later, I said, geez, how come they didn't play Friday? Was it because they were so old they needed to, have a day off? And the person in the know said to me, oh, absolutely not. They had some private party to play up in New York where they could get more money than what they were going to get for what the board got. Okay. Jeez. Yeah, they were great. I mean, it's a shame that Henley, not Don Henley, who am I? Glenn Fry. Glenn Fry is not with us anymore, but his son, I believe, played. Deacon is the kid's name, and it was great. It was good to hear the Eagles. So that's my 5 seed. My 4 seed is the Doors. Love Me 2 Times. Do you love her madly?
There was a time in my life, Pete Thompson, where the Doors were my favorite act. Period. They would be my number 1 seed. I've kind of, as I got older, I didn't listen to them as much, and I kind of found new music that pushed them down. But there was a time where I was a monster Doors fan.
I mean, if you, like me, were a member of the Columbia House or BMG, get 10 CDs for a penny club that I'm sure a lot of our listeners know about, that was one of the first ones you got, the double disc Doors Greatest Hits, and there was about 23 or 24 tracks, and you just played that until, and of course, this is the end, beautiful friend, the end.
Ain't that the truth?
The blue bus, Mike, it's calling us. And such crazy lyrics. Father, I want to bleep, mother, just craziness. All right, that's my 4 seed. Yeah, the Doors were probably my favorite, I'd say 13 to 23, but that fits in classic rock, and so they're in there. They're my 4 seed. Number 3, I saw this guy, his last tour, sadly his last tour, that would be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And again, there's another guy like Springsteen where Tom Petty has a lot of solo work, but you got to include the Heartbreakers. So that they were active 76 to 2017, and boy, I saw them just about every time they came nearby.
No, I wasn't a big Tom Petty guy, but I just, for some reason, I just never was a Petty guy, but he certainly belongs in this
Full Moon Fever. I mean, Full Moon Fever is, the Learning to Fly album, Full Moon Fever. Oh, yeah. He has an album, Wildflowers, that, for a period of time, and this is long before they had satellite radio or any other kind of radio, I used to have a portable CD player that, you put the cassette in, and then that runs the CD player, and I'd put it on the passenger seat. And when I'd have to drive from Scottsbluff, Nebraska down to Denver or somewhere, I'd just play that on a loop. I'd just let it go and go. So, I mean, he was, I pretty much, when he was at the height of his fame, and then even in later years, I'd go see Tom Petty whenever he came through. That's my 3 seed. 2 was the music that Josh played coming back, and that would be Led Zeppelin. And I know they're right on the edge there because they were 68 to 1980, and they say that classic rock really started. It couldn't be classic before then. It was just rock. But Led Zeppelin, to me, in fact, I've gone and seen Get the Lead Out a couple times. If you're looking for a tribute band to go see Get the Lead Out whenever they're at the Landis Theater or somewhere nearby. If they play Showboat or wherever they're playing, go check them out. Maybe Hard Rock brings them in. I don't know if Gold Nugget, somebody will bring them in once we get back to normal.
Usually the Golden Nugget does those
tribute
the fake Fridays or whatever.
Yeah, out there, on the water and whatnot. I don't know. I mean, Get the Lead Out. It's all about the venue and what they can get too. I mean, they've played. I've seen them before. I saw them at the old Showboat at House of Blues. I know they've played the Landis out in, where's that? Vineland? Is it Landis or Levoy? I don't know. One of those theaters out there in Cumberland County. My apologies, but they're great. I mean, it is always funny, Mike, when it takes. There's 4 guys in Led Zeppelin, and it's like 6 guys to recreate that sound, or the Beatle tribute bands. But don't worry, I'm not going to get to the Beatles. My number 1 classic rock artist, my number 1 seed is U2. And how do you argue with them? I mean, they've been active since 1976 to now. They've still had relevant music. Bono. I mean, there are very few artists that get the one name treatment, and he does. I mean, to me, that Irish foursome that have somehow stayed together, they get my number 1 seed.
All right, to finalists now, Ryan and Broads, are those bands that you're familiar with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know who they are. I just don't follow their music. So, yeah, I absolutely know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce, you too. Those two really stand out for me, but I'm with Broads. I would say almost all of them. I was keeping up with you, PT.
Yeah, Bruce, Stones, The Who, The Eagles, The Doors, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Zeppelin, and U2. That's my 8-1, and I think that's pretty stacked.
It's an excellent. I could take a CD from each and take a drive across the country, Peter.
On Route 66.
Do it. Free falling. All right. So there you go. So yours is out. I went Alice in Chains, Foo Fighters, STP, Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, Radiohead, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. They were my top 8. And those will be up on the website. Josh did his Motown artists earlier in the show, and then Mosher and Eitan did their rap hip-hop artists earlier today during their show. So you'll be able to vote starting tonight on our website, 973ESPN.com. And then the results will come out on Thursday and Friday of next week. So if you want to help us out, get out there and vote. We'll have those up for you later on. Now, you did not use Chili Peppers as a classic rock band, and I did not use them as a grunge alternative rock band.
They might get left out.
They were left out. There was no Chili Peppers.
Well, and I love the Chili Peppers. I loved when you and I finally got to see them. You know, I had loved the Chili Peppers for a long, long time, and then they weren't really touring at the time, or I wasn't. They weren't coming to Lincoln. They weren't coming to Omaha. You know, they weren't playing Memorial Stadium for where Nebraska plays. They weren't coming there. So, you know, at about the time in their height of Californication and all those albums, I was in the heartland where they weren't coming, quite frankly. And so then when they finally regrouped together, you and I went and saw them, and that was a kick-butt concert, wasn't it? Didn't we have a great time?
It was a tremendous concert. And, you know, I was telling these guys, like, I put 8 on there, and they didn't know half of them. And I was like, I left the Chili Peppers off the list. That's how – now, you might think the Chili Peppers are deserve to be on over some of my 8. But that's how well-known the ones that I put on were, that the Chili Peppers got left off.
Right, and I'm looking – it says they were active 83 to present, so I'd have a hard time putting them in by definition. And again, that was part of my – I mean, first I just closed my eyes and thought about bands that would naturally come to the forefront. But then the second thing was that, you know, it started in the early 80s. I guess 83 would be the early 80s. All right, that's fine. You know, Chili Peppers, somebody's got to wedge them in as like a wild carder. Don't we always have the teams that start out in Dayton? The Chili Peppers are going to start out in Dayton and see if they can win the whole tournament through there.
Do a little first 4 with like 4 bands that just like got stuck in no man's land.
Right, and then you could have one from each. You could have one from each genre. So they're my representative for first 4.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I forgot, you know, there was no Green Day. 311 you mentioned, they didn't get on the list. They're out, you know.
Yep.
There was a bunch of these like other ones, but all right, Pete Thompson, good list. We'll have it up on the website after the show. So I want to get your thoughts real quick on this story today about the Sixers who were going to ask their employees to take a pay cut. And then Joel Embiid kind of went over the top and said, well, if you're not going to pay them, I will. And then the organization had to backtrack, and they are now not asking the employees to take the pay cut.
Yeah, that's, you know, it's funny. One of the things I'm doing when I'm not doing my online teaching is I'm binge watching some things on Netflix. And some stuff is new and some stuff is old, but one of the things that generally catches my eye is the West Wing. And there's always a line in the West Wing about, you know, I serve at the pleasure of the president, right? Like, you know, whether you agree with what the guy's saying or not, I serve at the pleasure, right? So for any of the people that work for the Sixers or the Devils right now, you serve at the pleasure of Josh Harris. You know, you have bosses. And I'm sure that even if you think it's a dumb idea or you don't think it's that smart an idea, they're the bosses. Yes, boss. Okay, boss. But yeah, the minute that got out and Joel Embiid, like you said, came over the top, and kudos to him as well for, coming out and saying, let's do this. In fact, he's since come out and said, I'm proud of the organization for reversing course and doing a 180. Way to go, Joel. He's got do a 180 in his Twitter handle or in his Twitter headline up there, and now he's even complimenting his own organization for doing the right thing. But the word optics comes to mind, and also the word "what the heck were they thinking?" Like, come on. Well, your boy,
Michael Rubin tweeted out. Now there were some reports that Rubin was not for this, like that he was not for what they were going to do. There were some reports but he tweeted out, I'm a strong believer when you get something wrong, we must learn from it and fix it. That's exactly what happened here. Truly appreciate everyone's feedback. It was helpful. And, now he said, let's go beat COVID-19 so we can go back to some level of normal life and playing basketball. So it's interesting, that here's one of the ownership guys coming out. But one of the optics that we talked about earlier was, I'll give the organization credit that they admitted that they made the mistake. Not like, hey, based on, the return, we changed our mind. Nope, we got it wrong. We admit it. Now, that might not be true, but at least they were big boy enough to say we made a mistake.
Yeah, well, and that's the first sign. They call that there's PR principles that I learned way back when I was in college, which is called a preemptive strike, where something's going to be unfavorable, so you come out ahead of it and try to spin the story. There's a mea culpa, and that would be kind of what the Sixers did today, where a mea culpa is where you come out and say, yep, we screwed up. It's on us. Not we apologize, but we realize we're wrong. I was just blown away by the fact that Josh Harris, and this was out of Derek Bodner's tweet much earlier today, where Josh Harris is worth $3.9 billion according to Forbes. Michael Rubin $2.9 billion. It's not like the ownership. There's a lot of other partners. Will Smith is a partner. It's not like they're broke, but they bought the team for $280 million, and it's valued at $2 billion. They're making money. The organization is flush and solvent, if you will. It just was a bad idea from the get-go, and thankfully they realized it.
All right, Tuesday with Thompson, 97.3 ESPN. The PT is with us here every Tuesday, and don't forget our greatest musical artist of all time bracket will open up after the show. So obviously the big thing going on right now is all the free agency in the NFL and what the Eagles have done. And there's a whole heck of a lot. Now, you stopped over Friday as we, sadly talked about the Pete Thompson show going on hiatus a little bit. But so right now, with where the Eagles are, does the PT feel better about this team than the team that ended last season, or not as good?
I feel cautiously optimistic. I feel like they're living up to what they said they were going to do. They wanted to get younger. They wanted to get cheaper a little bit and have more money to spread around. I think that they've done all that. And then, you have to love – I mean, look, this guy is not going to change the world, but you have to love a guy like Will Parks, who's a Philly native, who basically came to Philly for less money than he could have gotten somewhere else. I'm not saying this guy's going to be in the Pro Bowl and an unbelievable impact player from the get-go, but he's solid, and he's better than you're going to get out of the draft. He's better than a lot of guys that were out there on in the pool, basically. So I love the Darius Slay move. I like that. And, I like the Javon Hargrove move, too. So, I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to be better. Are they going to miss Malcolm Jenkins? Absolutely. How can you not? I mean, they're absolutely going to miss a guy like that. Is Jatavius Brown going to change the world? No, but they're, we haven't gotten to the draft yet, so we don't know what they're going to do there. I mean, we're thinking obviously wide receiver, but we don't know who they're going to end up with. And I just feel like they're doing exactly what they set out to do, which is put emotion aside, don't hold on to a guy too long, move on, get younger, get faster, get cheaper.
All right, PT. So you said West Wing, but that's an old show. What are you watching? Anything new?
There's this. Everybody's been. I haven't watched it yet, but everybody's been talking about this tiger thing or tiger trainer or something that's on Netflix that has to do with tigers or tiger guys or some tiger trader, something like that. I'm gonna look at that.
Ryan watched it last night and fell asleep.
Oh well, that's not.
I couldn't
that
get through
doesn't
it.
bode well. No, and by the way, I should say West Wing. I'm only hooked into the first. Well, Aaron Sorkin left after the first three seasons. He was there for the first 3 seasons. Seasons 4 through 7 were just because we liked seeing Martin Sheen on TV. You know, I mean, listen, I don't know about you, and you might not have watched it first run, but I watched that show when it was on NBC. Like I had a VHS tape and I'd put that in and record it, and then I'd come home and watch it. And, you know, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, I think everybody wished we had Martin Sheen for our president. I think everybody wished we could have the West Wing run the way that it did in a 52-minute episode on TV. Wouldn't it be great?
I'm on a Harlan Coben run. I just watched The Stranger, and we finished The Stranger. It's on Netflix, one season, and now we are on to The 5.
So Harlan Coben's an author first and foremost, right?
That is correct. He wrote The Stranger and also The 5, which is both of them are his stuff on Netflix. So we started The 5 last night. The Stranger was very good. The 5 was recommended by a listener and then re-recommended by Aton. And so we started because he did The Stranger and then The 5. I would say I like The Stranger so far better than The 5, but The 5 is starting to pick up.
Okay, very good. And I appreciate the recommendation because I've read the books. So if it's anything like the books and it keeps you intrigued, then I'm all about it. Of course.
Did you read The Stranger?
Did I read The Stranger? He's written a lot of books. I don't, right off the top of my head, I don't remember if I read it or not.
No, I'm just like, that's the one that was on Netflix that everybody was like, you should watch The Stranger. So we watched The Stranger, and then people were recommending The 5, and then I didn't realize it was the same, right
guy. Did you see what NBC Sports Philadelphia is going to play tonight? This is more for Hunter than anybody else, but
I did not. What is it?
It's going to be the Flyers Rangers alumni game, a.k.a. when we all thought, wow, Lindros could probably still play in the NHL.
Now, how about this? Did you see what I put up on Twitter from the game that was aired 2010, Game 7? When the Flyers won, they showed a clip of the fans back at the Wachovia Center, and I zoomed in on myself. There's a little 13-year-old Broad, shirt off, banging on the glass.
Oh, yeah? No, I didn't see your tweet, but we watched it the other night. In fact, we were
my favorite was
in our house.
Billy Schweim says, how can you see that it's you? And I said, what do you mean, how can you see that? He knows it's him. He was there.
Right. I know where I was standing. I know it's me. Come on. Yeah, no, we were watching, and I actually texted our friend of the show, Danny Briere, afterwards and said, like, hey, Danny B, it's Pete Thompson from 97.3 ESPN. Is your phone blowing up tonight? We are watching and enjoying the 2010 Game 7. And he texted back and said, LOL, yes, my phone's been buzzing all night. I'm watching as well, loving it.
I mean, who thinks to do that? Hey, I'm watching a game that's 9 years old. Let me blow up the guy's phone who scored this goal.
Well, I'm sure I wasn't the only one. Other people, I'm sure, were texting him. I just wanted to make sure he knew it was on.
Are you watching a lot of old games? The other night when you left us, Broads was here for a good while afterwards on Friday. We sat 6 to 8 feet, but we watched 1994 Knicks Pacers, and I showed Broads. I said, now this is a clinic in jump shooting. Watch Reggie Miller, baby.
Oh, yeah, the art of the jump shot. The lost art, too, by the way,
There were 6 people in the paint at one point. I said, whoa, what are we watching here? There's 6 people in the paint?
Well,
isn't
it was
basketball.
A game back then, There was actual true centers that went down low. No, am I watching a lot of games, to your question, Mike? When they come on and they can hold our interest, yeah, we're into them, But, I mean, I'll tell you this. I'll be watching the alumni game tonight, 100%. I liked it when I was there. I'd love to see it again.
Was that the one at Citizens Bank Park? Didn't you say, Broge, you played at Citizens Bank?
Yes, I did. I actually, back in the day, it was on NHL Network. So there was a team called Making of a Royal where Pat LaFontaine was the coach, and they had like a documentary series. And they played my team not the Stadium Series, the Winter Classic Ice at Citizens Bank Park. So we were also on NHL Network, the game itself. No fans, though, so it was a little weird, but it was still cool.
I skated on the ice at Citizens Bank Park. That may be the last time that the PT has laced them up, quite frankly, now that I'm thinking about it. But it was soft ice, too. They almost weren't going to let us go out there and because the sun had been hitting it, and they didn't want us to basically ruin the thing for just a media one-off. But I got to go out there and do a couple laps and, didn't break anything. So it was fun.
42 seconds ago, Pete Thompson tweeted. That's amazing. Pete Thompson multitasking.
Yeah, with my right hand, I'm one finger typing, and with my left, I'm talking to you.
All right. Well, we'll let you go. We got to run as well. We got the 5 on the way. Pete Thompson's bracket is released, and you can vote as soon as the show is over on 97.3 ESPN.com. All right, Peter.
All right, guys. Stay safe. Be healthy. Talk to you.